Welcome to MouthpieceSports.com's High School Roundtable. I am the moderator, Bob Landigan. My panel tonight includes the guy getting chirpy in the corner, Mitch Robinson, the executive producer of MouthpieceSports.com. Our national representative on the panel from Rivals.com, Jeremy Crabtree, who is the recruiting coordinator, and our local guy, the high school football guru, Edgy Tim Halloran from EdgyTim.com. Gentlemen, we've tackled a lot of topics on this show. We're going to tackle a lot more in this specific segment because there's still a lot of things to address. And one of them we didn't necessarily delve deep enough into, I thought, was how high school recruiting has become so specialized. There's 200,000 members of Rivals.com, is there not?
Yeah, there are, and a lot of them
At least.
are there. Yeah, that's what it
At
was
least.
last year. A lot of them are there to focus on the recruiting aspect. Everybody loves college athletics, but high school recruiting, football, basketball is the lifeblood of what athletics is today in NCAA athletics.
There are so many facets to the deal now. Everything from the specialized events to the private instruction. And I'm getting to the one that seems to be more prevalent than anyone, that's the quarterback camps. Tim, we have them in Illinois, we
Sure.
have them everywhere.
Yeah, we do. You know, guys, and I certainly will share my opinion, is when it comes down to it, and Bob, I think you'll be able to relate to this more than anyone, kids don't just go out and play anymore.
Right.
It has to be organized. You have to have organized leagues, you have to have organized practices. The era of going out into the playground and going out in the summer and playing 7 hours of baseball and then coming home, putting your uniform on and going to play in the organized game, it's over. I think we're seeing that with football. We're seeing that in all sports as well, the quarterback caps in particular. You know, because of the competition for the scholarships, which we've seen year in and year out, it just gets stronger and harder and tougher and tougher. We mentioned about getting the, pun intended, I guess, the edge from a recruiting standpoint. You almost have to do those camps to get the leg up in the recruiting circles. Whether you're a lineman, whether you're a quarterback, a receiver, what have you, it's really gotten to the point where the specialization part of it is almost absolutely necessary if you plan on being one of those scholarship players.
Mitch, you have twin daughters.
That's right, I do. And you'll never get near them.
They're 4 years old. If I go to their birthday parties, I bring
That's
downstairs.
true.
There you go.
They're 4 years old, obviously.
Right.
16 years from now, 14 years from now, when they're looking to go away to school.
Yeah, I hope it's 14 years.
14, I do too. College
Well, they are
education.
your kids, Mitch. I'm sorry I had to go there, but they are your
Take after
children.
my wife.
Tim read between the lines there and finished that for
Thank
me.
you.
You could be talking about well over $500,000 between our education. If you invest 15, you better start working overtime, partner. If it costs $15,000 to $20,000 to get your daughters in these specialized camps and to get you a college scholarship, the math says it's a win for the Robinson family.
Yeah, obviously, you got to devote the time to do it and get them out there. But that's the thing that scares me the most as a father with 4-year-old girls and living in one of the western suburbs that I live in. The parents are so gung-ho on getting their kids an organized instruction already.
Yeah.
Oh, my kids are taking ballet. They love it. They're taking gymnastics. They love it. And they went and played soccer. And then the parents are like, well, you have to go up to this next level of soccer. My kids are just kicking the ball aimlessly and having a good time.
Right.
And from my era, that's all I care about. Have fun. But there's such pressure already, and they say, oh, you won't play on a team unless you start in the club sports and
Right.
advance. And that brings on one of the topics I know you were going to touch about, club sports, AAU. Do people play on their high school teams anymore, or do they have to go on this other avenue?
Well, I will tell you, if you're an elite high school soccer player in Illinois, you don't play on your high school
Right.
team.
Right.
And we can delve into that more, but if you were a football player and couldn't play on your high school football team and yet still be considered an elite player, what have we said about the state of high school football? I cannot see that happening.
No.
But I can see how
That's
why
the
these
one sport,
specialized
though,
camp.
I think.
Well,
That's the one sport that,
yes.
that will survive as a high school sport is football.
Well, because we mentioned the several factors. Physically, there's a development stage. You know, you could be the greatest football player in the world in 8th grade, and it's not going to mean anything 3 years down the road.
Right.
You know, you mentioned AAU and the club sports. I mean, you know, from a recruiting standpoint in basketball, the fall and the winter is an afterthought.
Yeah.
It's all
Very
about
true.
the summer. It's the summer shoe camps. It's become an afterthought. senior year of high school for football, almost to the point where it's become an afterthought from a recruiting standpoint, from a Division I standpoint. If you're not recognized in the spring and the summer one-day camps at the colleges, odds are you're not going to get discovered by the D1 schools in football for a scholarship because of your senior year. So the kid that comes out of nowhere is actually not coming out of nowhere anymore. They're just not coming.
They're rare.
And that's, I think, where we're going in some of these different venues, and a lot of it is related to AAU and club sport. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing or not, but that's where we're going.
Tim, has the specialization and the investment the parents make in it, is that affecting us in different ways? Is that eliminating the two-sport athlete? Is it harder to justify letting your son risk a college football scholarship by playing basketball or baseball anymore?
I don't think there's any question about it. I think the 2-3 sport athlete is becoming the way of the dinosaur. Specialization and forcing these kids to pick and choose. You look at the handful of kids that we have in the state that are great 2-sport athletes. Very rare, very rare. You need to train. Otherwise, again, we talk about falling behind and getting that advantage. If you cannot train and put all your efforts into that one sport, I think eventually down the road it costs you.
And it's amazing because it wasn't the Greek philosophy, everything in moderation, to make you a well-rounded person. That's the only philosophy you'll ever get from it. But to make you a well-rounded person, and now you're telling people, you're telling them to shut off, these kids to shut off any other potential or anything they may find that they love, to just focus on one thing just to get to college. And I guess for the financial, I'll find out, what you have to do, but I think that's what loans are for.
And I think one of the funny parts of this as well, and I don't know if Jeremy will tell you his perspective. From my perspective, I encourage kids to play multiple sports.
Certainly.
And people would think, well, you're a football guy. You're the one telling them, hey, don't do this, don't do that. I've seen more talent on a basketball court, probably as much talent on a basketball court for football than I've seen on a football field for football. The skills relate. They translate very well.
And college football coaches want to see the kids
Yes.
do other sports. They want to see see a quarterback, how he translates as a point guard. He wants to see his quickness. He wants to see a big 6'6" offensive lineman. How does he play power forward? Wrestling. College football coaches love wrestlers because there's leverage,
Mobility,
there's mobility, there's stamina. There's just so many different things involved from that standpoint. So I think from a national standpoint, the 2-sport athlete is dead in the urban areas. We still see it some in some of the smaller towns where
Sure.
the stud athlete has to be great in basketball, has to be great in baseball, has to be great in football. But I think, like Tim said, it's a dying breed, and I think we're not going to see that change.
Wasn't it Eddie Sutton who had his basketball players tackling dummies
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
at Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
And making physical, and I think they went to the Final Four.
And really, you look at your multi-sport athletes now, they are generally just unbelievable athletes.
Yeah.
All around. Great
They
speed,
just,
quickness.
the prior kid out of Pennsylvania, we've talked about him. I mean, he is a kid that just, one of the top-ranked players in football, a top 100 kid in basketball.
Oh, and speed receivers.
Right.
Take it back to football. If you're a speed receiver, if you're running a 4.4 40-yard dash time, you better be running a track. You better be out there running the 100-meter, 200
Working
meters,
on it.
busting out a 10.6, 10.7 100-meter times because you can say you can run it this fast and you can show it on the football field, but college coaches want to see, hey, what are your track times also? What do you do? How many points do you put up in the basketball thing? So I think college coaches want to see those kids out there doing those multiple things.
So stop blaming us internet guys for all this stuff, okay? We encourage kids to play multiple sports, but to be honest, it's, okay, we're the ones saying, hey, we have no problem with kids playing multiple sports, but then it comes down to competition, and it comes back to getting whatever edge you can get over the other kid, and unfortunately, what that is translated into is specialization. So,
I'm a five sport star on the Xbox.
Is that right on video games?
Yeah, the Xbox.
those thumbs, you got it ready to go.
I had $6
I
million
don't think Rivals
thumbs.
has a website for that yet, but I think
Soon.
Give us time.
what we're
us time.
saying is that we used to celebrate, the great high school athlete. Randy Moss was the high school player of the year in basketball in West Virginia and in football, and now it's getting tougher and tougher to celebrate them because the opportunities aren't there.
Right.
We will continue to celebrate high school sports here on MouthpieceSports.com's High School Roundtable when we return to Giordano's Pizza at 223 West Jackson in downtown Chicago.